Hello and welcome to the Results with Ronnie podcast. My name is Ronnie Walker, Master Coach of Exceptional Relationships and Sex. And today we're going to talk about infidelity. And the number one question I'm asked throughout the years of coaching couples and singles, be they're dating or in the middle of a relationship or going towards a relationship, if I discuss at any time concerning their past relationships or that resulted in ending based on infidelity, the number one question I'm asked is why? Why, when everything appears to be going so well, at least as far as they were concerned, why would this person take it upon themselves to indulge with someone else? Why? And the deeper that I looked into this, the more professionals and people that I would deem, very, very knowledgeable in this field, I always come away with something that is not as simple as people make it. I remember reading somewhere where someone had stated that, infidelity has been around as long as marriage has been along. It's been around as long as relationships has been around, And so again, the question begs itself, I'm sure back then, as it is today. Why? Well, there are a number of reasons, and we can all debate what someone feels is the core reason as to why there's infidelity. But, when I speak to many people or read about others and their journeys of healing from the infidelity in their relationships and those that are the ones who committed to infidelity, you listen to their stories. So let me just run by a few. Well, one, it's not as simple as people make it, because after all, we're human. Temptation will always be out there. The grass will always look greener. And so some people are stronger than others. Some people will tell you that, or I've read that their commitment wasn't as sincere as they made it to that person. And that could be for a number of reasons. Some people feel that they were just trying to fight off loneliness. Others, their biological clock was ticking and they needed to get with someone so they can have a child before it was quote unquote too late. Others were living a life that they was trying to shield from others finding out. So what they ended up doing was getting married to provide this kind of cover. Some feel entitled. So if the opportunities presented itself to them, then they must be taken advantage of. Now you hear a lot of this from men because, men always feel that there's so many options out there available. And whether there are or aren't, there are those who will argue to say, hey, look, just because the opportunities present itself doesn't mean you should take advantage of it. And that could be the case, be it a job, a business, money. I mean, how many times have you heard the saying that not all money is good money? Well, not opportunities that lends itself to one outside of their relationship is not one that you should take advantage of just because it presented itself. But then again, this is what others will profess. Others do it out of revenge. They want to get back at a person, which is really based in selfishness. They didn't get their way, so they want to make sure that that they were displeased with your decision about their request or requests, so they go out there and connect with someone else. Some realize their expectations were not met. Some people create this expectation of what they thought this relationship was going to be, only to find out through the efforts or lack of efforts from their own, it wasn't what they expected it to be. And so with that comes disappointment. And there's a saying that goes that, the creation of all hurt is expectation. Now, with that being said, one could say, all right, if you're getting married to a person, you have the expectation that they are going to be loyal to their vows, their commitment to them who they're getting married to, or deciding that they're going to be in an exclusive relationship with. They expect them to be loyal to their family, just like they're loyal to their job or career or business. So they figure, well, then they expect them to be loyal. But based on the foundation or the blueprint someone has created in their mind for this relationship and it didn't pan out, some feel that they're justified in indulging in infidelity. Another reason, neglect. They do everything they can to get the relationship and do nothing towards the maintenance of the relationship, or even worse yet, the growth of that relationship. So they neglect it. Now, this could be on the action of the person that is doing the neglecting, or those that feel that they're being neglected. Either way, if there's anyone that has read anything that I've posted, on social media or has talked to me or coaching, knows that if you're not growing as a person, you're not going to grow in a relationship, then it's dying. Something that is not growing is dying. And I cannot emphasize that enough. You have to be on a path of growth, of never-ending improvement in yourself and in your relationship. Because with that comes neglect. And with that neglect can sometimes come resentment. And then you find yourself in a position, aka one of those many opportunities, and next thing you know, you or the person you love and care for so deeply is in a situation that creates the infidelity. Some use it as a way to escape dealing with the choice they've made in the relationship. Again, this goes back into the expectation where they felt that this was the ideal person for them, only to find out this is not what they had signed up for. So instead of ending that relationship, they'd rather maintain it for appearance's sake, or for maybe other reasons, could be business. And of course, based on their pure selfishness, wanting to just keep that on hold because they still find some positive attributes concerning this relationship, but they're going to go dip out on the other side with someone else. Of course, we all know how this ends. It ends in the person finding out, and everything comes crashing down like a house of cards. Others, it's about keeping up with the lie. There are those who really are about maintaining a facade. Again, if you look at the history of marriage, it really wasn't something that was based on love. A lot of it was just maintaining power and control. There are still places in the world today that have arranged marriages. And the age discrepancies, discrepancies, it's huge. So not everyone that gets married for the right reasons. Not everybody that gets married or goes into a committed relationship is in it for what we want to believe is the whole reasons for being in a committed relationship. And so with that comes infidelity. Now, the question you then have to ask yourself, if you are one who has a partner who's part of some infidelity, you start by asking, do you want this relationship? Because if you don't, then there's no need to continue to work on it. And you have to make a decision how you're going to proceed in terms of ending this, because a person does not want to stay in a relationship with someone they do not respect and do not honor because they feel that person doesn't honor them. And here's another thing about infidelity. There are levels to this. because people talk about emotional infidelity. People also talk about physical infidelity. So what would be emotion? It could be that consistent flirtation of someone at work or online now that we have social media. Because, see, again, I talked about the rules of engagement. For men and women are deeper now. They're different. It's more evolved. Social media has created a platform that allows people to have some form of infidelity in another way. Before it was love letters and writing on paper, sending it in mail. Now you have email. Now you have porn. Now you have direct messaging. Now you have pictures that you can send each other through your phone. And although those two people may have never connected physically, just the fact that the mental space that they take up that would normally be and should be reserved for the person you're committed to can be just as powerful as the person that's being committed on to look at that and be just as hurt. See, the person that is hurt by the infidelity, to them, ultimately it doesn't matter whether the person was just something that was trading pictures or if they walked in the room and caught you both physically in the act of sex. To them, it's still the same. Because it's a breaking of the commitment that you've both made to each other. It creates a break in the expectations they have for the growth of you both. Then you have porn, where one would figure, why would you have this affair with porn when you have a whole physical person here? And see, the thing about porn people don't take into consideration is that, you see, to porn, it creates a facade, a place that they can escape to. See, the person that they're engaging with doesn't say no, makes them feel like they're the man or the woman, makes them feel invincible. It's always there. Never has a headache, never has to go to work, never's tired, is never tired. There are all these things that it creates for that person. And there's something we know, that porn has been around for, heck, we can rather go back to the days of the Bible, probably even before, as long as there have been men and women. Some form of sexual enticement for both men and women. And here's the other thing that I saw so much of as of late in the past couple of years, where you will have women who think that this is something that men have monopoly on. And the studies show that you have just as many women cheating as you have men. The differences are very, very small. So you'd think that there would be this huge gap. And you know what? One would argue that years ago that may have been the case. But see, here's what's happened over the years. See, years ago, women were just home, raising the children, taking care of home. So if by chance there was some sort of infidelity in the house, it was what? You hear the joke of it being with the milkman or the mailman. Because all the neighbors are all women. And not that, of course, infidelity couldn't happen between two women. I'm just saying, when you study those back in the day and the patterns of relationships and marriage, the whole Leave It to Beaver, for those of you who are familiar with that show on TV. Now what you have is more women in the workforce. You have more women traveling. You have dating apps. You have the social media platforms. So you have a whole window that is opened up for women across the world. And so now the temptations that used to only be available to men are now available to women. Hence, Women are just as human as men. And temptation is temptation. Whether it's eating that sundae that you know you shouldn't be eating when you're trying to watch your weight, or eating that candy, or going to that party when you know you should be home taking care of something else, fighting that procrastination, taking that level of flirtation of that man that looks so good at work. These things happen. How many times have you heard the term work husbands? And how many times have those work husbands turned into an affair? How many times has a woman felt neglected and that message comes across the deck, that instant message at that particular time? And then you say that, okay, well, men do it physically and women do it emotionally. Again, as I look at the studies and talk to more people in this field, the reasons are about the same. You have men that are out there cheating on their partner for emotional reasons too. You have women that are out there cheating for purely physical reasons. And you hear the stories, even in my coaching. I will hear about the woman who, their husband is dealing with some sickness, or he refuses to go to doctor because of stress at work and he can't perform. And she's tired of masturbating, using toys. And at that one particular time, she's sharing way too much information with a male at work. And then he offers the solution. And she may deny it first, but at some point, it goes down. And it could last for a month, 2 months, years. You've seen the story. Heck, they even have movies about that. You see it on music videos. And yes, some of you have friends and family that have indulged. So it's not just something that only men do, or men do the majority of. The temptations that were only available, or mostly available to men, are now available to women. You now have women on dating apps that just swiping left, swiping right, swiping up, swiping down, and just curious. There are women who felt they married too young, and realized that maybe this was not the person for them. Now again, I'm not someone who's going to sit here and condone or saying that what they're doing is right. What I am like to explore is just be a part of getting people to really think about this and engage in the conversation. And maybe you have your own personal stories of you initiating infidelity, or you being someone who was cheated on. It's painful. It's hard to deal with. You recreate the vision of what could have happened or what was happening in your mind, especially if you confront the person and they don't want to give you the details. So you create the scenario, the story that goes on and on and on. You can't sleep, you can't eat. Then you're sharing the story with your girlfriends over wine, over ice cream, over a girl's trip. And you're indecisive of what to do. With men, oh my goodness, it's nuclear. To hear the stories of men dealing with their partner cheating on them is intense. Now, of course, on the surface, men try to make it seem not as bad as if it was with a woman. But anyone who's read a lot of men's social media posts, concerning women and cheating. Oh my goodness, the lengths that they go to describe these women. It's got nothing to do with the woman. It's got everything to do with some experience that he refuses to share. And you listen and you read, and the agony these men go through. And truth be told, a lot more men forgive in these situations than the media would have you believe. The thought of starting over, especially based on the age that you are, something that happens in your 20s, possibly 30s, you may come at it from a different perspective than in your 50s and 60s. For some, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. That's a deal breaker for them, and they're moving on. Others, they may want to reflect and ask themselves, what was it that I may have done that contributed to this action? And what could I do? Or who do we need to speak to get to the bottom of this and fix this? Believe it or not, ladies, a lot of men ask these questions. But sometimes the voices that we hear out in the public is men is like a no-holds-bar, unforgivable, and from that they go into other relationships or other situations and just tearing through women with no regard of how they feel, because for them, they take this whole scorched earth approach to it. And all women are no good. And they're just there for sexual pleasure because of this one incident that I had, of dedicating my life and resources to this woman, and she hurt me. Or it may have happened twice. And for others, 3 times. Now, that's not a fair approach, of course, to paint all women on those 3 experiences. But unfortunately, that's what tends to happen. Then you'll have women who shut down. They stop communicating. Their belief in men, their confidence in finding a good man, has been reduced significantly in their eyes, in their perception. It's not easy to deal with infidelity. The calls that I get, sometimes in the afternoon, early in the morning, 3, 4, 5 o'clock a.m., I get a call, and I'm thinking it's an emergency, and it's someone that wants to book a consultation or coaching because they came across some pictures or voicemail. And they've tried to address it with their partner over and over and over and over with no headway. It's also a challenge when you're trying to save the relationship and the other person doesn't. Also, to hear words of how they don't like the fact that they hurt you, but they don't regret the infidelity and what happened. And that's a whole nother dynamic. Others use infidelity as a way to end something by you ending it so that they don't have to. Because for some reason in their mind, they don't want to look like the bad person. So it's interesting, the many, many dynamics of infidelity and why people do what they do around that space. No matter how you slice it, it's not a pretty picture for anyone. Now, add in the fact that some of these couples have children. How does that happen? How does a person who has what some would figure a perfect family, with children, money coming in, bills paid, and then all falls apart? What if it's the children who discovered it? And the dilemma that puts them in when they're trying to make a life decision whether to tell mommy or daddy about the discovered affair. And the disappointment they have in that particular parent at the time, and moving forward in their future relationships with them and with their adult relationships. So when we talk about infidelity, we have to talk about on all layers. Because there are many people involved. What about the pastor who's married and the reputation he has amongst his congregation or his standing in the community, even outside of his wife? What does infidelity look like then for them? And how people look at that. Because we know what happens. Or the wife of a pastor, reverend, preacher, apostle. How does he feel? Knowing the congregation knows that. And if there are children involved in that as well. You have some corporations that have morality clauses, for certain CEOs, that if you're caught in such scandal, then you're going to be voted out of that position. You see, it's also said that, marriage is envious of the tenacity that infidelity has. I can't remember who said that or where I read that. But think about that. Again, like I said at the very beginning, it's been around for as long as marriage has. But based on the basis that's the foundation of that marriage, you can't be surprised sometimes that it does happen. Love is powerful, but so is lust. So is desire. So is temptation. Given the right set of circumstances, when a person is vulnerable, while they're in a committed relationship, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And again, it doesn't mean that it was physical. It could have been something emotional. But in the minds that infidelity was perpetrated on, in their minds, it's just as real. It's just as powerful. It's just as intense. So to put some form of hierarchy on infidelity pretty much is futile. Because as far as the person that's been cheated on feels, is that it's something that you shouldn't have done to begin with. It's not something that you should have even considered. And if there was something that you should have done, was address it with them. We should have invested in a coaching or counseling. If there was some mental need of yours that needed to be addressed, then you should have sought help on that. But the last thing you should have done was go outside the relationship and try to satisfy that need, whatever it may have been. Some emotional need, some physical need, whatever that is. Because now what you have is ruined the very foundation of what we have and what we've built. And now I'm in a decision, or in a space of making a decision whether I want this relationship to work or not. And 1 minute, that person's going to go through a whole bunch of grief, sadness, and then there's anger. And I can't tell you how many people really underestimated how they thought the person they cheated on was going to react to finding out. Whereas they thought there would just be a couple of tears shed, maybe yelling, but they totally went nuclear. And and yet they don't understand why. Are you kidding me? You don't understand why she acted this way? You don't understand why he acted that way? Why you thought telling him you were going on a girls' trip when in fact you were going away with your work husband? You did not think that sharing the same hotel room, that she would act this way, that he would act this way? Really? Okay. See, the mindset of the person that's creating the act, involved in the act, their way of thinking, in their quest to have whatever need it is that they're looking to have met, is just so far removed from the person they're doing it on. Now again, in hindsight, many do feel sorry. But in the conversations that you're having, if you're trying to heal from infidelity, is finding out if they're sorry for what they're doing. Because being sorry for what they did and being sorry that they hurt you are two different things that needs to be explored, that really needs to be dissected. Because only then, on top of the fact that you really have to confirm with this person that if you are willing to heal this relationship, that they are too. Because if not, and I find this happens so many times with a lot of my clients, that the only one working on fixing the relationship is them. And the other person just wants an out. And this is one way they are able to do it. No matter how cowardice you think that they are, this is what they resorted to doing. And while it's not my position to tell them what to do, it is my goal to help them realize where they are and where this person may be. And they have to act accordingly. Because when all is said and done, you have to move on. You have to just grasp that and you move forward in this. So this is something that you really have to be honest about with yourself. Found out the basis of this. Find out if there's something that, what was the defining moment? What happened? What was said that made that person decide that this was something that they were going to move forward with? Knowing that if found out, what pain it would bring. And here's another thing. A lot of people that engage in act infidelity or cheating, they really didn't think they were going to get caught. They didn't think it would be brought to light. And one could see that when you think that it went on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years and nothing happened. And then that one fateful day, it all comes to the surface. Now, this is not to say that every time this is discovered, it happens in some yelling, screaming match, fist fights, all of these explosive outcomes. Sometimes it's very cool, calm, and collected. And a discussion is had. And either they work on it together or they go their separate ways. Infidelity is here. And I wish I could give you some magic formula to say, hey, this is going to be 100% proof that this will never happen. Now, you can go seek and learn things that's giving you a much better chance of it not happening. But as we know, nothing is guaranteed. Heck, we're not even guaranteed that we're going to wake up tomorrow. But just understand, and the whole purpose of this particular podcast is just to create the conversation in your mind. Try to understand what you may be going through, if this is what you're doing currently, or what you may be experiencing if you've discovered that someone is cheating on you. And for those of you who are listening to this who are not experiencing this, good for you. Good for you. But that doesn't mean you at some point or other wasn't tempted. That also doesn't mean that your partner may or not have been tempted. Because as we know, in the world of relationships, nothing is linear. Oh baby, it's a roller coaster ride like none other. But it's a beautiful roller coaster ride. If you're in this and you're working on this together and you're all about growth. So this series is something that I may do maybe another 2 times. I'll open this up and delve a little deeper. Because again, I don't want to make this seem as simplistic as, popular media would have you believe. Because humans can be very, very, very complex people in the way we justify the things that we do. But again, I just wanted to just throw this out there for you listening to engage in a conversation. Because this is something that, well over 20 years, I've had many conversations concerning this and coaching couples through this. And knowing that whatever the result is, that you're both happy and healthy in the end. So I thank you for taking the time to listen. I also ask that you subscribe, as I have this that's going to be coming every week. Results with Ronnie podcast. I'm here available for consultation and coaching. You can go to resultswithronnie.com and go to the menu and choose what type of consultation or coaching you're interested in and connect with me so we can set up a one-on-one and talk about your dating future, relationship transformation, and as a certified sex coach, address any areas that you feel that you need to have addressed in that space. No judgment, strictly private, and knowing that anything and everything that you and I discuss is only between us. I want you to grow as a person. I want you to grow in your relationships. I want you to experience an exceptional life, exceptional dating, exceptional relationships, and exceptional sex. So let's not downplay one or the other. You can enjoy them all equally and still grow in your level of education, conversation, thoughts, because that's what life is all about. So I look forward to working with you. I look forward to speaking with you. I look forward to sharing with you and how you need to grow yourself as a person and as a partner in your relationships. Again, resultswithronnie.com. You can go to the podcast, MrRelationshipMan.com, and listen to a number of different ones that I have up there. And I can assure you I have more coming. The content is really, truly what I feel is good content and things that I feel many need to hear about, things that I feel that are overlooked. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at Ronnie@resultswithronnie.com. Again, the email is Ronnie@resultswithronnie.com, and you may even want to leave a suggestion of a subject that you feel I need to address. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. And I wish each and every one of you an incredible day. Thank you.